I was lucky enough to get hold of the venue back in 2008, and at that point it was a dodgy Tex-Mex restaurant. It was actually my first job here in Bristol back in 1997, and I ran it as a Tex-Mex restaurant for about 6 months until I realised that Tex-Mex wasn't what I wanted to be doing, and I tried to adapt and evolve the venue into a more modern Mexican style cuisine with much better tequila and mezcal, which was really kind of on point at the time with Oaxaca opening up in London. And I thought Bristol might be able to get that, but they didn't. And they still wanted proper traditional dirty Tex-Mex. So we evolved into Papa G's House of Teas, and we started selling really nice loose leaf teas. We had about 85 loose leaf teas, all sold, like, served perfectly with good brew times, correct water temperatures. I became a certified tea master to kind of, one of my passions was tea. People couldn't get their heads around that we weren't a cafe bar, that we were a tea house and cocktail bar. So in 2013, we took the steps to evolve into what we really were passionate about and what we were doing really well, which was a cocktail party bar. So we launched Flipside Cocktail Club with the hope to expand out and have other cocktail clubs around the country. And we did actually open Faraway Cocktail Club in 2018, but that flopped and failed massively. So I'm glad I didn't have that during COVID, is all I got to say. And then we rocked Flipside Cocktail Club for 5-6 years. And then with our passions changing and moving away from spirits and cocktails, people's understanding of beer and the development of craft beer nationally, but especially here in Bristol. We've got some amazing breweries here in Bristol, Wiper and True, Lost and Grounded, More Beer. And we decided that it actually came to a point when I was coming into my venue and I didn't want to drink cocktails anymore. I wanted to drink craft beer. And we had a pretty shocking beer selection. So we took a big step about 1.5 years ago to change that. But financially, we couldn't afford to do it at the time. And we also couldn't close the bar for the 3 weeks it needed to get the new 20-line draft that we have in. So we're now really lucky. We've got 20 draft local beers on tap, but that obviously took time to do. We had to rip the bar out, we had to install all that, we had to move cellars, put in new cellar cooling. So we couldn't foreseeably actually do that work whilst open. Luckily, COVID struck. So we got a nice little grant from Rishi, and that gave us the foresight to go, well, let's actually do what we want to do, what we're passionate about now, which is still cocktails and spirits. So we've still got 20, 30 great kind of our own brand cocktails, our own house cocktails. We still make all the great classics. We've still got our amazing back bar, great spirit selection, but now we've got 20 draft local beers and ciders. All of our beers and ciders come from within like a 20-mile radius of Bristol. Most of them are within about spitting distance, the kind of 3 to 4 miles of the bar. And we've got a great can selection as well. So we've just evolved Flipside over the last, 8 years now, from Flipside Cocktail Club into Flipside. And we're now just a great neighbourhood bar. We've got a new wine selection that we're launching this week, which are all kind of great organic, local kind of French kind of wines rather than cheap wines from New Zealand or Chile, etc. So yeah, the bar's just evolved really nicely over the 12 years I've had it, from being what it was when I bought the venue into kind of what we are now. We've been quite lucky that we've been able to adapt. We've not been stuck in our ways. By being an independent business, it's just me. I haven't got any shareholders or stakeholders that I've got to answer to. I've got no accountants that I've got to answer to. So if I want to make a change and the staff are on board, or something that the staff bring to me that they want to make a change, it can happen. And by being able to adapt, it meant that we were able to expand our garden space, make this a lovely space that we can now get over 100 people into, COVID secure with social distancing. And I think if you've got that flexibility in what you've got in your venue and your business model, then you can thrive under these kind of situations. Unfortunately, there are lots of venues out there that haven't been able to adapt, and I feel sorry for a lot of my friends that own them. But yeah, it's taking the negative with the positive, or positive with the negative, and thriving under these hard times is when we kind of evolve and adapt, isn't it? So the name Flipside came from that really hard decision of what do you call your bar? And I wanted it to be something personal to me, and I wanted something to have a bit of another connotation, something that when you hear other people saying, but on the flip side, or see you on the flip side. And that's where it came from, is me and my friends, it was always, whenever you say goodbye to your mates, it was like, yeah, see you on the flip side. So it kind of Flipside stuck. I wanted something that had the FCC acronym, so that if we were able to expand out, we could have Faraway Cocktail Club, Forbidden Cocktail Club, Far Side Cocktail Club, and change the F for different venues around the country or different locations around the city. So it worked with that. But yeah, it kind of came from see you on the flip side and by being on the flip side. So one thing we have here in Bristol is an amazing array of great cocktail bars. I used to run one of the best cocktail bars back in 2005, 2006, before I was able to buy here, proper award-winning bar called The Park. We won venue or themes Best Bar Southwest a number of years in a row. And from then on, loads of great bars opened up. We've got places like Red Light, Milk Thistle, Hyde & Co. And they're very much sit-down prohibition bars, whereas we're not. We're the cocktail party bars. So we're the flip side to the prohibition bars that you get in Bristol, where you still get a great drink, still get great service, you still have a great time, the guests are really looked after, but you're also allowed to stand at the bar and have a great time with your mates. You're not forced to sit down and table service, which obviously now everyone's forced to sit down and have table service. So yeah, that's where it came from. I came to Bristol in 1997 to come to university. I'm a London boy, born and bred, and I had friends come to Bristol a year before to come to uni, so I started coming down seeing them, and for me it was the nightlife. Bristol offered this amazing nightlife that London didn't have. This independent nightlife, this kind of chilled out, relaxed. The music scene here in Bristol was buoyant in the 90s. I mean, the drum and bass, the trip hop. So I came here for the music and the nightclubs. So I came for the nightclub, and then to go to university as like a side thing. I did a chemistry degree at university, so something that I've not really used. I kind of wish I'd done a business degree. Might have helped a bit more in where I'm at now in my life. But actually the chemistry degree, I think, really helped me in understanding how drinks are made up, flavour, taste, profiles, balancing drinks, kind of the distillation process in spirits, fermentation into beer and wine. So the chemistry degree did help. But for me, I came to Bristol for the nightlife. And that's why I'm still doing what I do now, which is being in this industry. So I grew up with my mum being a senior event manager for one of the big event companies in London that put on like the hospitality at Queen's and Wimbledon and places like that. So I grew up with a passion for this industry. I knew that I wanted to serve people. I knew I wanted to give people a good time. So even throughout uni, it was kind of like I worked in this bar, actually. It was when it was Tequila Worm. I worked in this venue throughout my uni career. I put on club nights. So I've always had a passion for nighttime economy, for the nightlife and for the industry. And when I came to Bristol, the music scene was massive in the 90s. It was still very chain-led though. You still had your TGI Fridays, those kind of places, your Pizza Express. Then throughout the 2000s, more independents started coming in, and we've got so much passion from the local community for independence in Bristol. It's one of the biggest cities, one of the best cities for independent businesses. You've got places like Gloucester Road, which is the longest strip of independent venues, independent businesses in the country. So seeing that evolution from chains into independence has made Bristol's food and drink scene the best, one of the best in the world, let alone one of the best in the country. And you've got people like Jay Rayner from The Guardian constantly reviewing Bristol restaurants just because he wants to come here and eat. Not because he needs to review that restaurant, because it's new, but they have a new menu and he wants to come down to review it purely to enjoy Bristol's food and drink scene. I think for me, the way it's evolved properly is that move from chain to independence. You've got so much diversity going on and so much passion from those independent operators. When you go into an independent and that passion from that owner and the operators come through and the staff comes through, and then normally independents seem to care less about the bottom line, but more about the quality of the produce they're using. So they're buying produce from within the local region. They're buying really good meat from that farm down the road. They're buying beer from the brewery over the road. Whereas with a chain, they're not. They're run by accountants, so they're looking at what's my bottom line. Where can I get the cheapest beer from? Where's the meat the cheapest from? And that's what I think we have in Bristol is this passion from independent operators. And you guys get that when you come to a city like this. I don't know what it's like, where you are, but I can imagine it's quite a lot of Frankie and Benny's and that kind of thing. And then you have to really dig out the independents. And when you find them, they're great. But here in Bristol, it's not like the diamond in the rough. It's like everything's a fucking diamond. What I love the most is the guests. It's the people. The people are what I love the most about this industry. Whether they're the guests or my staff, it doesn't matter. The staff that I get to work with, I did an office job for 3 years after uni. I did a graduate training program, and it was hell. Sat in an office all day, every day, in a computer, just staring at that screen. and I missed the interaction with different people the whole time. You know, when you're in an office, you talk to the same 10 people every day, day in, day out. You don't get to choose who you talk to. You have to work with these people. You spend 40 hours a week of your life at work, and they're with people you don't like. Whereas in this industry, we get to choose our guests because people don't quite understand that they're a guest in our house. If we don't like you, we have the right to refuse service and you can leave. If you're not on our point with the way you treat other people, then you can get the fuck out of my bar, quite frankly. But the same as staff. If I don't like you, you don't get through your probation period. So it's the people, the fact that we get to choose our guests, we get to choose the people we work with. Therefore, you have a great 40, 50 hours a week at work. And the way that you give someone some food or drink and their reaction to that food and drink, and the way when they leave, they thank you and the team for the best night they've ever had. You know, that buzz you get, that warm feeling in your heart, that's why I love this industry. I'd say almost everything. I mean, what is nightlife to people? There's been that big debate over the last year of what is a pub, you know, and you've got people like Tom Kerridge really showing that a pub isn't about going out and getting pissed up with your mates. A pub is about the community that it has, whether it's within that local community, if it's a small little local pub, or the locals that we have in here. One of the biggest problems we're having is that everyone knows each other. So they're being told to sit down. I was in here drinking with my friends on Saturday night, and I had mates on that table, and that table. But I couldn't go and sit down and talk to them because I had to follow the rules. You know, I was a customer in that point, so I had my mask on, and it was really hard to not go and chat to your mates. And it's that local community feeling you get, going out and socialising with your friends over food and drink, not just socialising over Zoom, because we all know that socialising over Zoom is shit. You know, Zoom is rubbish. You can't have a conversation with more than 2 or 3 people on Zoom, whereas you can sit around a table, even of 6, and have a great night. You know, you really get that how people are feeling. And I think most people have missed that. They've missed the community of going out with their friends over food and drink. You know, the breaking bread aspect of going out, not the getting pissed part of going out. We've all been able to do that for cheap at home. I thought the first cocktail that would be ordered would be a porn star, because it's one of our biggest selling cocktails. I mean, it's not my choice of cocktail by any means. It tastes like a Solera if you've ever had one, you know, gaki and passion fruit and vanilla, sweet, but they love it. And actually the first real kind of cocktail was ordered was a hooch. You know, one thing that's been really nice over this whole table service thing is we've teamed up with Butler, who have a really good table ordering app. And so obviously we've listed every product that's on our back bar. Things that we've had in there for 7, 8 years that just haven't moved. And one of the first gins we had ordered was a saffron gin. Dan, my general manager, has been with me for 5 years, which is a long time for this industry, for someone, you know, a member of staff. And that bottle of saffron gin has sat on that back bar the entire time Dan's been here. I think I used it for a gin tasting back in 2013 or something. The first gin that was ordered was a saffron gin. And it was like, Andy, we've sold a saffron gin. It was like, fucking hell yeah. So, I mean, yeah, porn star, shit drink, but they love it. It's kind of, you know, we go through 6 litres of passion fruit puree a week. You know, we go through 100 and something passion fruit, so that's 200 porn stars we make a week. It's one of our biggest selling cocktails, and it tastes like a Solera. So I think my staff were nervous to come back. They're also very excited to come back. Obviously, this isn't the first time we've come back now, is it? I mean, we came back on the 4th of July. We came back in December for 6 days when we dropped down to tier 2. That was the biggest waste of time of all. Thanks, Boris. The amount of stock we wasted because we had 6 days to trade. I literally had to sell 20 kegs of beer at discounted cost price, less than cost price. Otherwise, I was going to throw it down the drain. So at least I got some money back from it. So we've had this kind of tease of going back a couple of times. I think they're kind of used to it, but obviously we've been in lockdown now. What's it been, a 6-month lockdown, give or take? So this time they were nervous, they were excited, and again, it's the rule changes. So how do we adapt again to the new rule changes, and do the general public know the rule changes? Of course they don't, because the government hasn't bothered to actually tell them. Councils don't even know the rule changes. So we've been on lots of Zoom calls with Barbie, which is the Bristol Association of Restaurants and Bars, and they've done these amazing Zoom calls with the council, and we've been bringing up questions in there that they haven't even known the answer to, because government hasn't given them clear guidance on how to then police it. So you've got council and COVID officers around the country giving different ideas on how rules are being interpreted, and then it's up to my staff and the industry in general to police that. So we're not giving clear guidance, and we've got to police something that we don't actually understand ourselves, and we've got no finances for either. We've not had our restart grants yet, which should have been handed out 3 weeks ago. So we've had to train staff on rules that aren't clear, and they then have to police it. And so they're nervous about that, but excited about seeing people again, excited about serving up drinks, giving people that good time. That's what we do, is we give you your good time. The main thing about hospitality for me is it's where all your happier life events happen, isn't it? Your birthdays, the christenings, the weddings, those great nights out with your mates. Even wakes. I mean, come on, who doesn't actually love a wake? As long as it's not your mum or dad that's died, but who doesn't love a wake? They're coming together of people under kind of stressful times. And all our happy moments are tied into hospitality. So being able to come back to work and give those joyous, happy times, I think everyone was quite excited about that. But as I said, nervous about the way the public are. Lockdown's been hard for all of us, hasn't it? I mean, whether you work as an accountant and you're now having to work from home with your kids running around you and homeschool and do your client meetings over Zoom, or whether you're a bartender or a waiter who's missed out, or a chef that's missed out on actually doing your job for 6 months. You're not used to being on your feet all day. And it's been a hard period for all of them, and how do they keep motivated? So we're quite lucky. So Pernod Ricard and the WSET, the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, came together to do online learning for a lot of the industry. So we were lucky enough to get a few spaces for that for our staff. So they've done some e-learning throughout lockdown. They've done their WSET level 1 and level 2. Dan's gone on an accountancy course. So it's kind of looking at ways to develop them personally throughout this time and give them options outside of the industry. I've always pushed my staff to stay in this industry. This industry isn't about just being a chef, a waiter, a bartender. It's what can you do as you develop. So you can either go into the management side, or you can go into the brand side, the sales side. There's lots of diversity within this industry. And I've always pushed my staff to stay in the industry. If you're passionate about hospitality, passionate about nightlife, then there are lots of jobs that you can do within it that can kind of give you a more of a future than just being a bartender. Quite frankly, I was a bartender for 20 years, loved it. I hated owning a business. It was more being, I still wanted to work the bar. The accounting side, the VAT returns, all that stuff was horrible. But what I actually wanted to do was work the bar. So when you get to 40 odd though, your knees start going. I've got RSI in my wrist, RSI in my elbows from shaking cocktails too much. So your body starts packing up. But now it's more about developing your staff in ways that can get them out of the industry. So like I said, Dan's been doing an accountancy course. Sam, my other manager, has been doing a lot of music courses, so he can start producing music. So it's kind of how can we help them to develop themselves outside of the industry. We started doing cocktail deliveries in lockdown 1, so back in about April or May. And I think it was from me talking to the staff about, what are you missing? Are you guys okay? Just that touching base every week or so with them, seeing how they were getting on. And all of us just realising that we miss making drinks. We miss that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when someone looks up from that glass and it's like, wow, that's amazing. That buzz you get from serving your guests. And we miss each other. We miss that interaction of being the team. So we had a brief chat. We had a few drinks in the garden. And we were like, what can we do about this? And we started doing cocktail deliveries. We started Cocktails to You. And we went from probably within the first week making a few hundred drinks to making a couple of thousand a few weeks later. It became a bit like a sweatshop in here, like making the drinks, batching them up, putting them in pouches. But it was a headache. We weren't getting the customer interaction that you normally get over the bar when your guests are like, wow. But what we were getting was the feedback through social media. And that was fantastic to see. And that made us all, it kind of gave you a little bit of that warm, fuzzy feeling, but it still wasn't the same as actually having the guests in the venue. But also the headache of the admin that was involved in processing the orders, taking the payments. I became a packaging expert, so that was good. I learned a lot about brown paper boxes, single walled, double walled. Spent a lot of time researching pouches and talking to suppliers of pouches. I found I could buy some nice basic pouches, which is what we ended up buying, but the pouches I wanted, I had to buy 50,000 units. So I was like, do I take that risk? Do I jump on that and go with it and roll with it? I kind of chatted to a few people about possible investment and making something big out of it. And then thought, no, we don't need to do that. We want to just service our clientele, people who are missing Flipside. So we ended up sending cocktails all over the country. We had orders from London, Wales, Aberdeen, from friends of friends who were sharing it within their networks on social media, and people ordering who'd never been here. And it was really nice getting the responses. We made that lockdown birthday a special event for that person, or they had the best camping trip ever because they all had cocktails around the campfire. So that was really nice to have that different aspect of what we do. But becoming a delivery company and dealing with couriers, I don't want to do that again. But we did. We adapted, we survived, and it gave us an income for that horrible period that real uncertainty period, that kind of May and June last year, when we didn't know whether we were going to be reopening. We didn't know whether the grants were going to come in, whether the venue would still be here when this is all over. And it kind of gave us that little boost to know that there are people out there that are missing us, missing what we do, and the fact that it gave us a bit of an income to kind of get through that period, keep the staff involved, keep the staff employed as well. So over the years I've had Flipside, we've done loads of great pop-ups, we've done loads of events with spirit companies, so we've done, and one that springs to mind was Gin for the Win, where I got dressed up as Bruce Forsyth and we had a big spin the wheel. We partnered up with loads of different gin brands. So yeah, I really, really miss that engagement of working with gin brands, with spirit companies as a whole. We've started doing lots of tap takeovers with local Bristol breweries. So we're going to be doing some with Lost and Grounded, more hopefully Wiper and True soon, and a few of the others. So we work with those, and also we do great food pop-ups here. So we've just finished our pop-up with El Jefe Cubanos, which is like a Cuban sandwich thing. We've got maybe a burger company or a vegan, like plant-based thing coming in soon. So yeah, we partner up. We do kind of a lot of collabs with breweries, spirit companies, or food pop-ups. It's just fun doing it. It brings something for the customers. So we've done big Havana garden parties, Plymouth Gin, and yeah, it just gives the customer something different. If you come to your favourite bar week in, week out, or every however many weeks, suddenly you walk in, it's like, oh shit, what's going on here this week? They come in, there's like drinks offers on, and they get to try new products. It's great for our guests and customers because the brewers come in, they can educate them to get them out of their comfort zone. If you like an IPA, here, try this hazy pale ale instead. Or if you like gin, how about trying tequila? So you can really get people out of their comfort zones and get them to try something different. Again, it comes back to being able to adapt and kind of move with the times. We have that freedom by being an independent that we can do what we want. If we like the idea of something, we'll push it. And if the customers like it, great. If you get a bad response from your guest, you're a bit like, okay, maybe we won't do that one again. But things like the Gin for the Win, everyone had a great time. One of the best nights ever. Mainly because I had a really big fake chin and a great moustache and was in a tuxedo, but So yeah, we opened and expanded our garden last summer. We spent a lot of time post-lockdowns, kind of August, September last year, expanding the garden from the one into next door, and it was literally blood, sweat and tears getting that space ready. But as soon as we did it, we got the tent up, we got the tables and chairs in, we sorted the fire escapes out so that everyone was here, everyone was here in a safe environment. The response we've had has been amazing. We've just had our busiest week that we've ever had in 12 years, post-lockdown. What were we on, lockdown 2, lockdown 3? Lockdown 3. So yeah, we've just had our busiest week that we've ever had, which is fantastic. Everyone's come out in force last week, and the response has been amazing. We've done a lot of work in this space in the last lockdown. We've got heaters up everywhere. Most of the tables are covered. So most people have cover, they have heat. And we've been fully booked all last week. We're pretty much fully booked all this week. So long may it continue for the next couple of weeks until everyone else opens up. Kind of need to make hay while the sun's shining. Well, it's just people that are lucky like me. But the biggest thing for me was that by expanding into the other space, we can now get over 100 people out here. So once indoors opens and we're allowed kind of 38 people back inside, we're nearly at capacity. So we're very lucky that we've been able to adapt again. And there aren't many bars in the country, I feel, that are at capacity in a COVID-secure, socially distanced environment. So yeah, I'm very happy that I've been able to do that.